Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. This episode of Welcome Home is brought to you by DVC Resale Market. Thank you for joining us on episode 270 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, I'm here with Trevor. Damon was going to join us, but his internet broke, so...
It's not the issue that happened on Friday, just so everyone's...
It's funny because my wife's like, well, maybe he just doesn't want to do it this week because you guys don't have a lot to talk about. I'm like, no, Damon would just say he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if Damon doesn't want to do something, he'll say he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, he just tells you.
Yeah.
Trevor, on Friday this past week, I saw Back to the Future, the musical.
Oh, how was that?
What? So, it's interesting. Maybe I've talked about it on the show or not, but on the first date I had with my wife, we had a weird shared love of the Back to the Future movies, and we watched all three of them in a row, after our first date.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's kind of the Back to the Future movies have like a weird kind of spot in our hearts, And so when we saw that they made them, I mean, they're classics, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think my enjoyment of them is, I think I go 1, 2, 3, just like in order of best to worst. But, the third one's got its charms, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Probably the weakest of the three. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like the first is probably the best. The second's, I feel like the second one is pretty good. It's a pretty good sequel. But the third is a little out there, but I don't dislike it. Anyway, so this is the musical, right? And I had heard it was pretty good. It was funny to just kind of see like the crowd that was there, because I just assumed it was going to be all people in like our age range, because that's where Back to the Future hits, and good. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I disagree with that, but continue.
Oh, really? Okay, you think that's okay?
I feel it's a little more timeless than.
Is it still culturally relevant? I mean, does your son know Back to the Future?
Oh yeah, I know he's watched it once, and I mean it gets referenced all the times. It does culture, so
that's true. That's true. Okay, well that's true. And so we went to the show, and my wife loves musicals, and so anytime she can get me out to one that I'm actually interested in, it's a win for her. There's only a few she can get me to. Like we did Beetlejuice last year. We did a couple other ones. Like Hamilton.
I can't wait for the Goonies musical for you.
I mean, anything's possible, Trevor.
I know. I'm not saying I know I'm joking, but I'm also kind of not joking.
So we went to the show, and it was really, really good. They changed the story quite a bit, which given there are a fair amount of things in the first movie that are not as culturally acceptable anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So they did change a lot of stuff about the story, which was fine because the way they did it worked. It wasn't anything where it was like it felt forced or anything. And they did it's completely different from the movie, right? I will say though that it has the coolest effects I've ever seen in a stage show before. Because, and I don't want to, I don't know if anybody who's listening to us is going to go see Back to the Future the musical, but and so spoiler alert, but when the DeLorean first comes on stage, it's kind of magical. It reminded me of a Disney show. I was actually saying to my wife, I was joking because in the beginning of it, they were doing these projection things on a screen, and the sounds that it was making, and the little the animations they were doing. I was like, does this remind you of a Disney pre-show, a Disney ride pre-show? And she goes,
map 100%. Projections and stuff. And
yeah, it's just like a map projection, and it's just little digital sounds happening, boop 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 boop, and it just kind of felt like they were about to, we were about to walk into another room and go on a ride. But but the way they do the stuff with the DeLorean and it flies at the end, it comes out over the crowd. I still don't even understand in my mind how that happened.
Nice.
yeah, it was, and of course, at the end of because they end it where they end the movie, where we're going to we don't roads. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And so, then it lifts up in the air and it flies away and all that stuff. But no, it was great. Honestly, if anybody has a chance to see it in my, the show I was at was like maybe 3/4 of the way full, which I was really disappointed in because I'm like, this was a really good show. Like the fact that it's not a sold out theater is kind of a bummer. There were more people when I saw Beetlejuice. And I would think Back to the Future is a bigger property than Beetlejuice, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, but I feel Beetlejuice has had a weird resurgence also because of the sequel and everything. I think there's something to be said for timing too. Right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's not like they're doing a remake of Back to the Future. And as long as like the guy that wrote that movie's alive, he said he's not going to do it. So I'm sure as soon as she's gone, they're just going to do it. They're going to remake it eventually. There's no way they don't reboot that show.
I mean, I don't think it needs it. But
I don't think it does either. That doesn't matter if it needs it or not, though. They don't care if it needs it.
That's fair. Yeah, it's not always a matter of needs. Just somebody wants to.
Somebody wants to capitalize on the original property. But
so it's funny how you're saying like the story was different, and so the nerdy part of my head wanted to argue, well, they did change the timeline, so you could actually be watching an alternate timeline version of Back to the Future.
Like, for example, like Doc Brown doesn't die by getting shot by terrorists. He dies from radiation poisoning, right? Like, so they just, so they kind of just like little things they tweak here and there.
I guess, gunshots on a stage show are not faux pas, but yeah, I can see where they might not necessarily want to do it in a show. Like that.
They didn't want to go the terrorist angle, I think, either. Yeah. So, I mean, they obviously cut a lot of stuff out too. Like it doesn't have like everything in it. I mean, it has all the classic
skateboard scene is just totally not there.
Not really. No, I mean they did some skateboard stuff, but not like the full.
The scene where he's chasing him or where he's being chased through the town square and all that.
They did not do that whole thing. They did something different.
I am so disappointed.
I was going to be disappointed. The only thing I cared about, and I said this to my wife going in because I didn't know really anything about the show going in. I was like, I just need there to be like the song "The Power of Love." I need that one in there. This. Got to be in there. It has to be right. Like it has to be.
Was it like a stage stage show performed version of it? So not just like okay, good, yeah.
No, they did it. They did it. So they did Power of Love. They also did so the whole ending sequence. They did all the songs you expect them to do, right? Like they did like Earth Angel, and they did Johnny Be Good, and they did Power of Love and all that. So I can't believe I've almost talked for 10 minutes about Back to the Future the musical. It's not Disney related at all. But
hey guys, welcome to the show. This is what we do.
It was great. I was actually really bummed too, though, because they had a shirt that said "Where we're going, we don't need roads," and it had the DeLorean on it and everything. And I was like, oh man, I want that shirt, but it was long sleeve, and I hate long sleeve shirts. So I was like, why don't you have this shirt?
So close.
Yeah, so close. And there were a couple people also. There was a guy dressed up as Doc Brown that I saw walking around. There were a couple, some Marty, Marty McFly. Really just wearing like jeans and like the red vest basically. But but seriously though, if it's coming near you and you like that movie, it's totally worth it. It was really, really good. It was well done. It made it really hit the nostalgia parts for me. And like I said, I have never seen special effects like this on a stage show ever. Like it was, I mean, all of the special effects were absolutely incredible. The set design was incredible. You could go just for that. But outside of that, like the performers are really good too. And it's really well done. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time. But that was kind of our thing to, going out thing. We hadn't done something out like that in a while. And then of course, afterwards there was an absolute like torrential downpour. So, and we had to walk to our car, it was like in the city. So our car was like a couple blocks away and I just got completely and totally drenched. So it reminded me of Disney. Like, when those storms just pop up out of nowhere and then you end up, if you can't get your poncho on in time, you just get soaked, but which feels good sometimes in the heat, but
Yeah. I kind of wish we had that right now. We've not had rain in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So anyway, Back to the Future the musical. Go see it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Why don't we? So let's actually get on to the rundown of the show.
Well, we should warn everybody. This is a weird time of year, right? Because like there's a lot of people on vacation, and Disney's not really putting out a lot of news.
It's the lead up to D23.
It's the lead up to D23. Yeah. So Disney's not really announcing anything because they're saving everything for D23. So there's really not that much news to talk about. Well, we'll ramble on for a few, and
Yeah, I think we got a few things we can talk about. But why don't we start with we got the review of the week here. So it's titled 5 stars for Tom, Trevor, and Damon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If they say if I could give more stars, I would. That's very sweet. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for chatting about all the new and relevant Disney topics. Can't wait to hear what new food is coming, even if that means that Disney mysteriously disappears from Whistle While I Work.
I wonder if people realize that we don't even know that Damon's gone. I assume he's gone when we start talking food, but
he does kind of duck out, but we kind of know when he's leaving, but yes, I feel like it would be weird if he announced it every time, to be honest, because we are like in the middle of conversations and stuff. So he just politely ducks out when he's done, which is fine.
Yeah. Hey, there's another team food person right there. So hashtag team food, right?
We will keep talking about it. So don't worry about that. Yeah.
There's no new food to talk about though. I was really bummed about that too.
We'll get there. I mean, the food and wine and Halloween stuff will be coming here soon. I mean, Halloween starts next week or something?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a couple weeks. Did we get a food and wine preview? We didn't get the foods yet for that, did we?
No, not yet, actually. So yeah, that should be coming soon here.
Yeah, because I mean, usually I feel like that's. I mean, is that usually out by? Well, I guess food and wine is usually starting pretty soon here. So, and it's a little bit later this year, so that could be why.
Yeah, and again, timing with D23 and all that, it's probably a priorities thing that they're not focusing as much on food and wine this year, which is fine.
Well, Disney's also and they actually, Iger straight up said this. They are very good about releasing things at a certain pace. Like, you know what I mean? They like to release things at certain times and at certain ways. And, they're good at that. I don't know. It's something they do. So, I mean, like you said, right now, there's no reason, for them to put anything out. They got D23 coming up in just a couple weeks. And so that's where most of the big announcements will come from. So, somebody actually asked us the question in the Discord. I saw do you want to make some reckless predictions about D23? And I was like, I felt like we did last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. Yeah.
I mean, we kind of talked about the preview thing and what that could mean. So yeah, I feel we've already done that.
Yeah. We've covered that ground, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we could do a wish list of what we want to see. You know what I mean? I could do that. We can do that.
Okay.
All right. So let's do these listener questions first though, right?
All right.
All right. So Jeff asks, what is a good age for baby's first Disney World trip? Are there certain DVC resort amenities that are great for babies, toddlers? I mean, listen, I've seen people. I saw newborn twins one time, literally a week old at Disney. And I don't know if they were local, but that's nuts to me. I don't know if I'd do that. I think my daughter's first trip, she was maybe a year old. But I don't know. I feel like it depends on how your family operates,
It does. Yeah. The first time we took our son, he was 4 to Disney. So, and I guess, I'm just of the opinion, when they're very young, and I know that there's the argument about, if they're, why take them when they're
not
too young,
remember.
They're not going to remember it. And I kind of think that way because I guess for me, coming as an international traveler, definitely I would enjoy it, or I would have enjoyed it, but I wanted it to be something that one of my son's earliest memories kind of thing. I was kind of thinking of the timing of, him remembering that we were going to Disney. And not to say that, people taking their newborns is wrong. That, like you said, that's entirely how your family chooses to operate. For me, I would never take them younger than 4. But again, that's just
Yeah,
me
it's a
and
lot
how
harder for you to
we've done
do it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's much more difficult for you to do it than for me to throw my kid in the car and drive 7 hours, you know?
yeah. I mean, that's the difference too, right? Like you said, you know, if you're local or it's more accessible, you know, I don't see why you wouldn't do stuff like that. You know, the same way that, you know, we were taking our son to the zoo when he was, you know, still like, you know, in the stroller and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of that's kind of a, you know, however you want to do it. I don't think there's any there's no hard and fast rule on this. Like, you know,
No.
Disney's Disney. And I guess it's how much do you want to do, you know, Disney with your baby, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess that's the other side of it for me is, you know, the selfish side of it is, you know, my wife and I both agreed we didn't want to have like the full stroller gambit of stuff going on when we took our son. Like if we took him when he was like, you know, 1 or 2 years old, the amount of stuff you got to pack, especially traveling internationally, doesn't work. Like we wanted to make sure that he was old enough. You know, we had like a small stroller that we took the first time, but actually, we didn't take a stroller. No, actually I didn't take a stroller the first time. Sorry. Now I'm thinking it's been a while.
Like if I were you, I would rent a stroller every day. I would not. I hate dealing with bringing a stroller on trips with me. Like, we didn't bring a stroller, and I think that's what we decided on is that we were going to rent a stroller. But then I think we actually ended up not even renting the stroller because my son was at that age where I could carry him pretty easily, and so I didn't. So we were never in a position where I felt like I need to like put him in a stroller because he was also old enough too that like he, you know, there was definitely naps and stuff, but it was manageable, right? Like it wasn't like I needed the stroller for that. Yeah, it's interesting that
like I said, just it's hard to say like, you know, however you want to do it is really the answer to this.
Well, listen, I like you said, the kids don't remember, right? But I remember,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, and it's funny as we were talking about this, I have like a digital photo frame on my desk where, you know, where I'm doing the podcast, and it just rolls through my entire photo album. And as we were talking about this, a picture of my daughter's first Disney trip popped up on there. And, you know, I don't know if it's Google listening to us or what, but regardless, you know, we've got all these great pictures of her interacting with characters and, you know, doing all sorts of different things. And she doesn't remember it, but we do. And that's for me. That's worth it for me. Now, would that be worth it for you to fly as far as you have to fly to do it? Probably not. That's a bit much bigger hassle. For me, it was easy. And part of the reason we were doing it, I think, is that we had annual passes at the time, and it was, you know, essentially free to go on the trip, you know, because we had DVC and then we had the annual passes, and my daughter was free at the time. So I think that's why we did it at the time. Yeah. But, you know, by the way, and as far as DVC resort amenities, I don't know about resort, but I mean, I would say the lounge is really helpful. The lounge is for taking a break, you know, because the one thing with little kids like that is, you know, they're taking 2 naps a day. So, you know, you need to be able to find a spot to hang. And, you know, we tried to do the stroller naps, you know, which happened sometimes, but it's hot out and, you know, not always easy to do the stroller naps. So, I can't think of any DVC specific amenities though that were great for babies and toddlers, just the lounges.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like I think every resort is equipped. You know, that they're fully equipped to handle kids of all ages, and you know, I'm thinking to like you know even things like, you know, splash pads and stuff. Like every resort has a splash pad of some sort, so there's really no wrong choice there. The other thing to not underestimate either is there is the first aid centers in every park, which are set up for like childcare as well. So, or not, sorry, I don't mean childcare,
like the childcare centers.
You can go in and like, you know, exactly what you're talking about. You know, if you need to, you know, there's change tables and, you know, if you just need a quiet place with your kid, that, you know, don't underestimate that kind of stuff either.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing saying you have to explicitly use a DVC lounge, but those definitely help too, because, you know, the lounges are also far less busy than anywhere else in the park as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no like real DVC stuff, but I think it's just in general, Disney's pretty equipped to handle, kids. And I think the biggest thing is, or the only thing I would say for me is like, even when it was my son's first trip, is I made sure I was aware of where all those things were, because they're not obvious. They're not like, there's not like billboards telling you where the childcare center is. It's like, you have to, you got to pay attention on the map, and same thing at the resorts is, you just talk to cast members too. Like I think that's probably the biggest thing is, if you're looking for something for your kids, cast members will be great to help you with like pointing you in the right direction. If you need a quiet spot or something, right? Like, don't be afraid to ask people.
It's funny though, like you said, because it's like before you have kids, like you don't even realize that the baby centers exist, right? Like it's almost like it's invisible to you until you have a child, and then all of a sudden it just appears. It's like, oh, there it is. Look at that. Didn't know that was ever there before.
A whole section of the map uncovers, like in like games where like the map is all fuzzy, and then when you discover it clears up. Yeah,
exactly what happens. Exactly what happens. So hopefully that's helpful, Jeff. But I'm interested in Daniel's question here. After booking the initial 3 rides with multipass, how likely do you think you will be able to book another ride? Just got used to stacking rides with Genie Plus, and concerned that after the first ride in the AM, nothing else will be available. Got into Disney when my kids were born, so I don't have much to compare against. Never used the old FastPass or FastPass Plus systems. So interestingly, the iteration FastPass Plus, before this, I used to get 8 or 9 a day. Like, like easily. So that's kind of why I was pumped for this, because, part of the Genie Plus thing I hated was like that 2-hour rule thing. And, like you had to do all these
ride
crazy
per day. And
it's so annoying, right? Yeah. Like I loved the way the FastPass Plus was, because you could book a lot of rides if you were on top of things. And listen, are the good, like the big rides going to be available? Probably not, but they might be.
I had some magic happen too. We were on our way to we were on our way to Animal Kingdom one day. So it was our trip in 2016 when we moved it because of the hurricane. And I canceled like all my fast passes, and I was sad about that because we had Flight of Passage, and so I was like, oh, we're probably not going to get on this. But literally in the morning, as we're going to Animal Kingdom, I'm looking on the app, and I got a Flight of Passage in the morning, which was like insane. But like you said, the thing is that I feel the way that this system is going to be closer to how it was with FastPass. I hope it doesn't get as stressful as FastPass did, where like it felt like you had to be on it like 7 days ahead of time, or you don't get what you want. But then I also forget too, like the example I just put is, with the old FastPass system, even when you weren't scheduling stuff months out, things just popped up all the time. Like there was
you
always
just had to refresh.
Yeah. There was always opportunities to find stuff. And like you, Tom, I remember there was days where, we got fast passes for Haunted Mansion like 3 or 4 times in a day, because it was like, you just keep checking the app, and it was like, what do you want to do? You want to go on a Haunted Mansion again? Okay, let's go. And you just keep, you keep using them. And every time I got one, I think the biggest trick was, as soon as you use up your passes, don't hesitate to start booking other stuff.
Second I scan my Magic Band, I'm on that app. Right?
Yeah.
Like literally the second my Magic Band gets scanned, I'm on the app while we're waiting in line looking for the next thing, Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like, yes, the 3 rides thing. And here's something to think about too. So this is coming into effect like 5 days from now, or sorry, 4 days from now, because you're going to be listening to this the day after we record it.
Exactly.
So this is going to be coming into effect. And it's coming into effect during the summertime, which is the busiest season. So, anybody who's looking at this system at this point, there's going to be 2 problems. One, it's new, so people are going to be taking a minute to figure it out. and two, it's overly busy. So during the busiest times of the year, it is always hard to get stuff with FastPass. Like even with the old FastPass system, you just had to accept that it's busy, right? So, what I would say is, whatever you hear about it in the first couple of weeks, take it with a grain of salt. Don't assume that, the system is bust or whatever, because there's going to be lots of people saying that, this doesn't work, or, this is way worse or whatever. But again, timing is a factor here. And I'm more interested in how it's going to look come like September, October, because really in September, when things calm down, you'll start seeing the flip side of it, where people are like, I booked, 12 fast passes in a day, or multi-passes or whatever, so I'm going to keep calling them fast passes.
We'll just call them fast pass forever. It's like Hollywood Studios is MGM. Okay. It's always MGM.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just accept it. So, don't, I get Daniel's concern here that, it feels like it might be a bust where, you pay extra money to book 3 rides and then that's it. I don't think it's going to be that restrictive, but like I said, really, you're not going to get a feel for how the system is actually working until about 2 months into it in operation.
Well, and go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, sorry, the last thing is they may change things too again. There might be tweaks to it as we go. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Well, and theoretically, right, there should be more availability than there was with FastPass Plus, because FastPass Plus was free, right? Mm-hmm. Genie Plus is not free. I mean, multipass is not free, right? So part of making it not free is that you make the user base smaller, right? Significantly, right? And I mean, I forget what the numbers were, but I feel like I remember them saying at one point that there was like 50 to 60% of guests are paying, or maybe it was like 60 to 70, something like that. So that's less people than had it before, right? Like that's a lot less people than had access to it. So, I mean, theoretically you should have more access, but they also might have brought down the amount of available slots along with that. I don't know, right? Who knows how they did that on the back end? But if we assume that the same amount of available capacity is there that was there for FastPass Plus, then you should be able to get more things. But I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. Like you said, Trevor, we really don't know how this is going to work until it starts.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And back to the thing about free too, something that I think a lot of people didn't know or forgot about with the free FastPass system was the downside of it being free was there was also people that were exploiting it. And there was people, because I remember, we found out after a while that there was people that figured out like you could book FastPass reservations even if you weren't, or like it didn't have to be tied to a park ticket. So people were just booking FastPass reservations. And I remember, finding out that there was like these third-party sites that were selling free fast passes, but under the guise of, well, we're getting you the premium fast passes and that's what you're paying for. So the thing is, even with the way that system was structured, Tom and I both anecdotally were still able to book, way more than the initial 3. That's even dealing with people who were manipulating the system.
Oh yeah.
The thing about Genie Plus / multipass coming in is that, because it's a paid system and they have locked it down a lot more, is you are not dealing with that breadth of people that you had to fight with before. So yeah, Tom's right that, you may find that it's even easier to get what you want with the system when it comes online. But yeah, I wouldn't assume day one that that's going to be the case, because July is July and it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And I'll recommend this again, because I recommend it all the time. If you really want to know like the deep parts of FastPass and how it works and the history behind it, go watch that thing. Was it Defunctland did a whole thing on it on YouTube? Yeah. It's like an hour and a half long, but I think if you're a nerd like I am about this stuff, like I found it fascinating and I enjoyed every moment of it. So, and they do a really, really good job of explaining everything and making it really easy to digest why they made some of the decisions that they did and why the system, was a problem and, all that stuff. So it's very well done. So check that out.
Yes.
Do we want to do our ad, Trevor?
Okay, this week our ad is brought to us by DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market is a World of DVC company and is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2023, DVC Resale Market helped over 4,400 families join or add on to their memberships. Go to dvcresalemarket.com/welcome home or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 382-7767. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you.
All right. So I forget. Are they changing the lane name to multipass, or is it just going to still be called Lightning Lane? And you're going to, I forget if the name was going away or not.
So Lightning Lane is the umbrella name for,
that's what I thought. Okay.
The passes in the park. There's the multipass and the single pass. So the single pass is like Guardians, Tron, all those kinds of rides, and then the multipass is everything else. Which
I was just trying to remember if they were renaming the passes to, like, you know, the renaming the lanes to the pass, but they're keeping it as Lightning Lane. It's just
it's all Lightning Lane, which I think is better because, you know, everything, like all in the park, all the naming convention said like Lightning Lane return time and stuff, and so people were getting confused about, you know, am I using Disney Plus? Am I using Genie Plus? Am I using Lightning? Like, right? It was the whole Disney Plus Genie Plus thing was funny. They didn't think that through. But
I'll still never understand why they got rid of the Fast Pass name. Like, they could have just made changes to it and kept Fast Pass, because like
Fast Pass was Premium, Fast Pass Ultra.
Seriously, call it something like everybody knows it by Fast Pass. Like, I think we talked about this before. It's like, you know, when you say you're going to search for something on the internet, you Google it, you know, or you Xerox something, right? Like, and those are brand names that became part of, you know, what you do. And Fast Pass is a term I've heard, you know, outside of Disney, you know, and in other industries. Like, people have adopted that term as a, you know, skipping the line. It's so odd to me that they decided to abandon that name when they could have just, you know, modified the end of it. But I don't know.
You know, they could have done like Street Fighter, you know, where the names became like Ultra, Hyper, EX, Street Fighter, Alpha 2.
Yeah.
You know, Super Fast Pass, Alpha, Hyper 2. You know, clearly this is the one I want.
Fast Pass Premium Plus, Fast Pass Gold, like, right? You know,
Fast Pass Gold, Platinum, Hyper. I don't know. Yeah,
it's just surprising to me they decided to go that route. I mean, I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but I don't know what it could be, but whatever. But that's an aside.
I'm sure. I feel part of it is, you know, the changing everything to Lightning Lane. Somebody somewhere had an idea, I feel like, and they, you know, they just kind of have to commit to it now, right? Like,
I remember when they announced it, though, I was like, this is confusing because you're calling it Genie Plus and then you're calling it Lightning Lanes, and there's an individual Lightning Lane and there's the one that belongs to Genie Plus. And like while I get it, the regular Disney guest is going to be like, I don't understand this at all.
Well,
and like Fast Pass was so easy before. The lane was called Fast Pass. You bought your Fast Pass, you know, or you're not bought. You got it for free. It's part of it. So, you know, it was easy. Everything was named the same thing. And now they just, you know, decided to, I mean, I guess they had to figure something out because then they were doing the individual purchase rides and they weren't doing that before. So you have to give that some sort of name, I guess, to differentiate it. But then they called it the same thing. You know, they called them both Lightning Lane. It just was, one was individual Lightning Lane and one was just Lightning Lane. I don't know. I just was like, who made these decisions? Somebody needs to understand guests better than that.
To quote my brother, because we were talking about this stuff, he said, you know, I feel like, you know, he's not a Disney guy, so he's exactly what you're talking about. He's like, you know, I feel like I need a PhD to understand how, you know, Disney operates at this point, because they've made it very convoluted for some reason.
I think the multipass thing does make it a lot easier. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
it's more straightforward. I also think people tend to complicate it more than it needs to be, right? Like you can go to Disney and not have to deal with all that stuff, you know?
True. But yeah, I think the problem is when somebody walks up on like Tron and they're like, but I want to go in the short line. Well, no, you can't. Well, why? What do you mean I can't go in the short line? Well, you had to book this thing, 7 days out. Well, how was I supposed to know that? Well, you got to read.
They did email you. Yes. They probably emailed you several times, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Disney is good about that. So
yes, they do communicate quite a bit. So, I mean, I was shocked by this, Trevor. My Disney cruise is not until May of next year. And I recently got an email talking about my cruise. Yeah, like no joke, like saying, oh gosh, what did it say? It was like some, one of the like, we can't wait to welcome you on your cruise or whatever. And it's like,
start thinking about your excursions and stuff. Like,
no, like that's I literally, so I got an email a week ago that was like, see where the Disney treasure will take you. And it has my itinerary. And then it has a checklist of things that I need, like documents and stuff and the reservation number and all that. And it's like, that's not until May next year, man. Like I don't feel like I need that. It's 10 months away. Like that feels really early to be communicating with me. But, I'm sure everybody that's been on a Disney cruise is like, yeah, well, that's what they do. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I like Phil's question.
Yeah. So Philip says, when do they mow the grass in the parks? I never see them doing that. So do they mow at night? I mean, yes, I would assume so. But there's a lot of stuff that they do at night that I think people don't quite realize. Like
they they like power wash the streets and stuff. And there's
there's power washing, there's maintenance, there's fixing up plants. Although interestingly, I know specifically when around Flower and Garden, like when we've gone during Flower and Garden. So we saw like the day and night transformation, along when you're coming in on the monorail, how you can see like there's like the flower beds along the
water right there.
Yeah. Along the water. And it went from, it was all dirt and you could kind of see like they had like a stencil of where they were planting stuff. And then we came back the next day and it was flowers everywhere. Right. Like it was, we were like, whoa, like that's impressive. But we did actually see some gardeners too while we were there, because even outside of all of that, there is sometimes people during the day planting stuff and whatnot. So, I mean but obviously things like mowing the lawn, I can understand. Lawn mowing is a loud, disruptive thing. And I can see why they wouldn't want to do it while there is guests in the park, because there is also the safety factor of it too, because, people won't understand that you actually should not be anywhere near a lawnmower when it's operating, because things fly out of it and all that.
It's also just not a good look. Like Disney doesn't like to show you like how they maintain things, right? Like the gardeners coming and doing stuff, like that's one thing, because it doesn't like mowing the lawn is so... It's different, right? Like, but I would bet that they do it a lot of times early in the morning too, like 5 a.m. They're at the park before it opens, doing that kind of stuff. I've certainly seen them, like you said, I've seen them at the resorts and in the common spaces, like doing. Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
doing mowing just during the day.
I mean, at the Poly, we see it during the day, or if you're back at your room, really, I think in any resort during the day, you'll see like lawnmowers and stuff running.
Exactly. Yeah. Just not at the parks. The parks, they do it, in off times. So they do a lot at night though. Like you said, I mean, as soon as the park closes, like, people are going in and cleaning and restocking, and, there's a ton of stuff that happens overnight. So yeah. But it's an interesting question. I like that kind of thing.
So in short, Philip, magic.
That's the answer to everything. Yeah. I remember the pre-Fast Pass days when the Beauty and the Beast restaurant first opened, and they used to have like a little like rose thing that they put on your table, and then they would bring your food to your table from that rose, right? And I asked the person bringing the food, because it wasn't really a waitress, it was like a quick serve, but it was kind of a weird thing. You ordered ahead of time, they gave you the rose, you put it on your table, they brought you the food. and I remember saying something to the waitress at the time because this was pre-Fast Pass. A free Magic Band. I was like, so how does that work? Like, like how
did you find me?
How did you find me? And she just went, magic. I was like, okay, that's what you're gonna do. All right, I should have expected that, I guess. But like, I don't know what I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Well, like, there's an
actually, what we're doing, yeah.
Well, because I was trying. Listen, I mean, I'm assuming it had something to do with like an RF transmitter, but at the same time, I was like looking at the cart that she had, and I was like, I don't see any screens on here, or like, you would think there'd be like some sort of screen that would show them where they have to go, or I don't know, maybe before they bring you the food they know. I don't know, but. Anyway, magic.
It's magic. Yeah,
just chalk it all up to magic. All right.
So Dan's asked us.
I don't know which Dan it is. Actually, I didn't record which Dan it was.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, Dan.
The Dans have to fight it out.
So
the set list for the Country Bear Jamboree came out. What are our thoughts on the selection? So, okay. It's a lot. It's a lot of Disney songs, which I feel. Yes, they we knew they were going to do that, but I
got the set list. Okay, it's all right. Hold on. Sorry. Where is it? I had the set list. I lost it. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. So Try Everything from Zootopia, Kiss the Girl from Little Mermaid, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Wow, I can't believe I got that out. A Whole New World, Fixer Upper, Remember Me, You've Got a Friend in Me, The Bare Necessities. So that's really the list. Part of the reason I put this on here is because my brother-in-law texted me, and because he texts me about Disney stuff sometimes, because his parents are DVC members. He grew up going to the parks, and he was like, have you seen the new Country Bears? Like, seems like they just threw a bunch of Disney songs in there, kind of lame corporate synergy. And I was like, I thought about it for a moment, and I was like, I would have thought that before I had my daughter, but with a young kid, I can see how putting songs like this into Country Bear makes it relevant for younger kids. Because I'm telling you right now, I brought my daughter to Country Bear before, and she has hated it. She did not enjoy it. But I'm telling you, if I brought her now, she would like it because she knows the songs, Okay. So like, I understand the thought of like, oh, the corporate synergy thing. And yeah, that's probably the main reason why. Right. But at the same time, I do also think they try to make these things more relevant to kids using their IP and, trying to give them a better, just something that's familiar to them, like something that they know already, as opposed to original songs. Now, I don't love the death of originality in the parks. I like the original stuff that they've done, and Country Bears is one of those things, that was, fairly original, and that's great. But at the same time, I also am okay with this. We knew they were going to do this, and I wasn't bothered by it in the beginning, but I know some people will be. So I'm going to politely disagree with you about the part about young kids needing something familiar for them to enjoy it. Because I'm saying my daughter, but
okay, fair. Yeah. Because my experience is when I was a kid and I saw the Country Bear Jamboree, I enjoyed it because it was so different and, it fit the theme of Frontierland, but it was still its own thing. And I didn't realize until I was much older that all of those songs were like old, like they weren't Disney songs. They were, old country songs, which, like you, I'm a little sad for the fact that instead of them, pursuing something original with this, that they took the easy route. I guess that's the only way to say it, is that the easy route is, they look at their existing, music catalog and they fit in things from that catalog into the show, which I will say, some of the songs feel like they should click or feel like they click.
But others seem like a stretch, right?
Some of them don't. I feel like whoever was doing this, like looked at, like they did like a Google search of like, Disney shows in the last 10 years or something like that, and like got, or like threw it into an AI engine and said, give me 10 Disney songs, and this is what they got. Like, it doesn't.
I see. I haven't listened. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't listened to the soundtrack yet. I just haven't had a chance. But I am interested to see how they turn some of these songs into like country songs that the Bears are singing, right? Because like Fixer Upper is not that kind of vibe,
Correct. Yeah. And so to be fair, I haven't listened to the whole thing either. I started off listening to Try Everything from Zootopia.
Yeah.
It's the same song with like a banjo put in it. Like there was like no effort to make it into a country song. And that's my thing. I guess it's not so much, the song selection, but how they're rearranging the songs. And it feel like, just from that initial experience, I'm like, if that's the bar that we're going by here, they took the easy path on this, which, yeah, I mean, Disney, that's not to say that, every attraction should be, knocking it out of the park, but, sometimes playing it too safe is not a good thing either, I feel. And while you said like this stuff is, all these songs are going to be, things that kids recognize and things that people recognize, coming to the park, because that's part of it too, is, you want it to be something that, the guests know and whatnot. But I feel like the current set list, like this is kind of, it's not nearly as bad as the Tiki Room redo, the Under New Management, because I did see that, and that was bad. This doesn't seem quite on that level, but this feels like it's going to be replaceable sooner than later, which I don't think that's a good look, but maybe that's part of the intent is, maybe they're trying to structure this in a way where in the future, instead of this being the way it was for, 30, 40 years, maybe they're going to rotate out songs as they go. And I don't know, like
yeah. I'm going to reserve judgment on this until I actually see it. You know what I mean? Even
that's fair.
Like even just listening to the soundtrack, I feel like doesn't give you the vibe of actually seeing it. And they do still, they have the Country Bear Jamboree like song, right? Like, so it's like they still have like an original song in there, right? So, I think also though too, I've taken people to the Country Bear Jamboree in its old form, and that had never seen it before, and we're like, what in the world did I just watch? You know what I mean? Like, just it didn't click with them. And so I wonder if we're in our Disney fan bubble here and feeling that way. And if like the regular person off the street that gets to go to Disney once or twice in their life is going to feel differently. I don't know. Maybe they're just not appealing to us on this one.
I guess I agree with you there, but I also feel like there's going to be, as much as, the non, in the Disney bubble person coming there, I feel like, the song selection, everything is going to be like, well, they're just like peddling their other shows through this show.
Well, yeah, that's what my brother-in-law said. Yeah.
I just don't feel like, I feel like they could have put more thought into it. And it's not necessarily that, the song selections need to change, but like I said, from just, listening to it, it sounded like, they went to somebody and said, make a cover of, I'm specifically picking on the Try Everything song, was, make a cover of Try Everything, but make it country. And the person went, well, I got a banjo here. Like, is that good enough? Like
I mean, I did watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, and it seemed like they did put a lot of work into it, but I don't know.
which is unfortunate, because on the surface, it doesn't
feel that way.
It doesn't hit that way. Right. Like I think that's the sad thing is, I guess it's not fair of me to downplay people's work on this, but, people are going to forget about that in, 6 months, a year or whatever. And if the show doesn't have legs to stand on by itself, it's going to get replaced sooner than later. That's my take on it. So
No, I get it, and I guess we'll find out, right? I mean, if it ends up being a long lasting thing, or like you said, if it starts, if it ends up being different. I don't know if I saw a video, and I don't know if it was real or not, of one of the bears smoking like the second day after, like it was. I don't want to say it was on fire. Yeah, I don't want to say it was on fire because I didn't see any fire. It was just smoke, and it could have just been smoke. It's possible that it wasn't fire, But yeah, I saw something about that. Listen, it's, these things happen.
Animatronics fail. That's nothing to do with the show design.
Yeah. And who knows if they even updated the animatronics? They might be the same really old animatronics that they had before. So
no, because they did a thing on it a couple of months ago where they were talking about how it is all new animatronics.
Oh, did they? I didn't remember seeing that.
Yeah, because they were talking about that they were getting new clothes, and
I remember the clothes. I didn't remember them talking about the new animatronics.
They did mention it was going to be new animatronics.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was like there was like one line in that video where they said that. Which,
I must have just missed that. Yeah. Makes sense.
But so I'm going to throw this out there, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't see this show staying in its current state longer than 5 years.
Okay.
And I think even 5 years is a stretch. Like I feel like they're going to look at this, and in like 2 to 3 years, it's not going to be pulling in people, because that was part of the thing is, it got to a point where there was nobody in Country Bears.
Yeah. There's never a line of Country Bear.
Yeah. And I could see them, looking to redo this again, and hopefully not replace this, but, I can see them doing another redo of the show, similar to how like, it would be actually funny if they kind of took the same route as the Tiki Room, where, put it back to its original state.
I mean, they could do that. But, why not? Right? They could. Trevor, before we talk about your news, since the other piece of news item I have is Country Bear related, why don't we just continue talking about Country Bears, and then we'll end with your thing?
Sure. Let's do that.
So another thing, though, interestingly enough, the Hungry Bear restaurant at Disneyland is going to be turning into, well, not really turning into, they're just going to reimagine it into the Country Bear Jamboree, which is kind of funny because they don't have the Country Bear Jamboree at Disneyland anymore. But the idea of making it like themed to the Country Bears is kind of cool.
Yeah. And where the location of Country Bear Jamboree is actually right next to, or where it was, is right next to where Hungry Bear is. So it feels like a good continuation of the Country Bear legacy, even though it doesn't exist in Disneyland. And yeah, again, hey, corporate synergy and all that.
Well, this is not,
why shouldn't Hungry Bear be a Country Bear themed?
To be fair, though, it's not like and this is no offense to Country Bears, it's not like a premier IP, right? Like they made a movie, but it wasn't good, right? No. Like, so it's I think I always have considered Country Bears more of a hardcore Disney fan thing as opposed to a casual Disney fan thing, right? Like, I don't know. That's just kind of how I felt about it. So I do think it's interesting that they're going to theme it to that. And from what I read, and I haven't been there obviously, but I guess Hungry Bear was not really, it was just kind of themed generically to bears, I guess.
It was, It was very, it's just part of Frontierland, right? Like it had like a wilderness lodge kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Disneyland crowd is different than the Disney World crowd, and nobody's going to have an issue with Country Bears being in there. The funny thing about this article that and thank you, by the way, to Becky for sending this article in the Discord. She noticed that this article is speculating at the end that this writer thinks that because they're doing this at Disneyland, that means they're also going to do this at Disney World, and they're going to replace Pecos Bill with a Country Bear themed restaurant. I think that's kind of a ridiculous thought because I still think it's going to be a Tiana thing. I feel like it doesn't make sense to retheme it to Country Bear right there. I don't know, but
it's kind of a weird idea. That
it is. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's a weird idea.
Because technically, it is connected to Country Bear, because Country Bear empties right out into Pecos Bills.
It does. Yeah, it's right there.
So you could feasibly continue that theming all the way through into Pecos Bills. But then, it's fighting with Tiana's. So to that end, just don't change Pecos Bills. Just leave it the way it is.
I know you're a big Pecos Bill fan.
Yeah, we like Pecos Bills. It's a nice spot that we like to relax in when we can.
I have heard though that the Tiana restaurant they put at Disneyland is rated pretty highly. I've heard that people said the food is excellent there.
Okay, but that area, like that New Orleans area,
yeah.
I mean, it was good before.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's not like it went from nothing to like Tiana's. It was like they were building on existing things there.
I just heard the food was good. The food specifically. So
yeah.
If they bring the same menu and make it, but they would really have to do a lot of work to that building though, because that building is not themed. Like you said, it makes it a challenge because of the way the building is themed.
Yeah, it's a redo of that entire area, which I don't know that Disney, is wanting to do that right now. But yeah, back to talking in Disneyland, like this the Hungry Bear restaurant, making it Country Bears is like, that's not hard. It's very easy to replace stuff in there. And then, also where it is, theming wise, there's not a lot of work they need to do to it because it does already fit. It's part of Critter Country, but, it does fit that whole, Frontierland country theme that they have going on, which, I'm not opposed to them doing that in like it makes sense because of the fact that there is no Country Bears in Disneyland. It gives like, I know what you're saying about, you feel like Country Bears is like a hardcore Disney thing. I feel like it's a park IP the same way that like Figment's a park IP. Yeah. And I don't think that, every park IP necessarily needs to be a movie or, anything else. Like it can just exist exclusively in the park and be a thing just for people that go to the park. So yeah, I'm not against that.
This seems to me like it's going to be very much like a Regal Eagle situation where it's like Muppets theme, but just barely. You know what I mean?
Kind of. Yeah,
we'll throw a touch. We'll throw touches in there, but it's not really Muppet themed. It's kind of Muppet themed, but kind of not. Like that feels kind of like what they're doing here. But I could be wrong. I mean, maybe they're going a lot more all out than I know. But.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, it like because there is actually so there is a lot of like sculptures and stuff there, like woodwork and whatnot. So there is room for them to replace things, and if they just hang a picture on the wall and call it Country Bears, like that's yeah.
I unfortunately for you, man, I still don't think Pecos Bill is going to survive. I think they're still going to do something with it. I tend to believe that they're going to go the Tiana route. That's just my feeling about it, but I really don't know. I mean, but it makes the most sense. It's right there.
I accept that, we've said this before, things at Disney change all the time. And, even when it's something that we like, it does change, and that, and maybe it'll be better when it's done, or maybe maybe I won't go there anymore after they change it.
Or maybe it'll be better. Yeah, maybe it'll be better. Like I do tend to believe, Trevor, this is one of those things we're going to hear about at D23. I think we'll find out. Yeah, I think we'll find out what they're doing. Yeah.
So you think because they're talking, this article was originally talking about the Hungry Bear reimagining. You think so? They're announcing this just in a an on the side kind of announcement thing. You think they would save something like Pecos Bills for D23?
Well, because it's Tiana themed, and Tiana's the thing right now, right? So that's
okay. Yeah, that is fair. Yeah,
like if they were going to do a Country Bear, I don't know if they would save that for D23 because, even this article mentions that Disney views the Country Bears as maybe an outdated IP, right? Which, like we said, it's not the one that everybody knows. The movie they tried to make, I think, was what, early 2000s?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, and it wasn't good, right? And so, it's not like an IP that's why I'm saying I feel like it's a hardcore fan IP as opposed to a, casual fan IP. So like, yeah, you can put, highlights of it in a place, but to make a whole restaurant theme to it, I don't know, feels like too much. But yeah, I don't know. I still think, I think if they're going to make Pecos Bill into a Tiana restaurant, that we're going to hear about it at D23. That's what my prediction is.
Okay. That's fair. I hope you're wrong, but that is me being selfish because I like, we found that, there's a couple of spots, in the back of Pecos Bills where if you go there at the right time of day, it's quiet. You don't go there at lunchtime, but it's talking, previously about finding, quiet places in the park. Pecos Bills was definitely one of our, we could go and sit and, out of the sun in a quiet space and, have a late lunch or whatever. And it was nice. But, if they take that away, we'll find somewhere else and it'll be fine. But, yeah.
Well, because if they turn that into Tiana restaurant, it's going to be busy for the next, 5 years. It's like, it's just going to be always busy for the next 5 years.
Yeah, we'll have to go upstairs to the Tortuga Tavern side if that's going to be the case, which that's okay. It's just not, it's not as quiet up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but like if they're going to do it, if they're going to make that Tiana, that's a whole complete inside and out redo, right? That's
that whole building. Everything is going to be shut down for a while, which the funny thing about that is that, for all the work they've been doing on Tiana's, that it kind of created some congestion in that area. And if they shut down Pecos Bills, it's going to create the same kind of problem where, there's, because restaurants are people eaters too, to a certain degree. True. Shutting that down means you're going to have a displacement of people, especially like lunchtime. Lunchtime is going to be a nightmare.
Well, that's like probably the largest quick service they have in terms of area. Well, one of the largest.
Cosmic
probably
Rays is
Cosmic Rays is bigger. Yeah, Cosmic Rays is bigger. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, Cosmic Rays. I mean, you could even you could say even that that other one too that's always closed is maybe bigger too. But it's one of the bigger ones.
Which one that's always closed?
Why am I forgetting the name of it? The one where they do the dessert parties all the time.
Tomorrowland Terrace.
Yeah, Tomorrowland Terrace. They only open that when it's like super busy at the parks.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that? I don't know if I've ever seen that open other than.
Oh, I've seen it. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've seen it open for food, but only when it was like crazy busy.
Got it. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Like I said, the thing is if they shut that down, like that displaces people to all the other quick services in the park, which I like. Yeah, Pecos Bills does take a lot of traffic on that level.
I think if they close down Pecos Bill, then they open up Tomorrowland Terrace, right, to try to eat some of that up. The only problem is that it's on the other side of the park. Or
maybe they update the menu at Tortuga Tavern because Tortuga is not great. Like there's like two things on the menu. Like they need to, or maybe that would be the answers. Maybe they move the stuff from Pecos Bills up to Tortuga and do whatever they're going to do at Pecos Bills.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the last thing we had today, you told me that you have something coming up and you want to talk about it. So
yeah, so I didn't initially have it planned that I was going to take another trip before next fall. So my wife and I think I mentioned this previously, that we were going to go to Disneyland next fall. But that's over a year out. So, I didn't think we were going to do anything else, but just through a set of circumstances, my brother and I started talking, and because of the fact that I have some DVC points that, I was going to bank them and I was thinking about maybe renting them out, but I wasn't sure. But we ended up deciding that the two of us are actually going to take a trip in May. So we're actually going to be in Florida in May, and we're staying at DVC. But we are actually the point of this trip is that so both of us have we have our families, but our kids. We do certain things with our kids, and then our wives don't like roller coasters or fast rides or stuff like that, but we do. So, kind of like, I guess like your wife, she does all the fast rides with your kid. Like me and my brother are the same way, in our families. But what we decide is that, my brother and I really enjoy, we've talked about in the past, like, we like water parks, we like roller coasters, and we like mini golf. And we've decided on we're going to take a trip to Florida, but it's not going to be a Disney centric trip. So obviously this is still early planning, because we're looking at, like, we have decided on a week in next May that we're going to go, but we're looking at all the non-Disney things to do in the area that kind of fit that criteria. So we're talking about, we want to go check out Volcano Bay, because that looks like an amazing water park. We're looking at different mini golf courses outside of Disney mini golf courses, because there are a lot of mini golf courses in Florida. And so we're going to do that. And then we're also looking at some of the different places that have roller coasters, because so again, not just going on like the best of the best roller coasters, being Universal and stuff like that, but we're looking at there is some other smaller theme parks that have some interesting coasters, particularly
SeaWorld has a lot.
Yeah, SeaWorld, and there is actually, I know people are going to go what to this, but whatever. We're actually looking at Orlando Fun Spot.
Oh no, I've heard that's good too. Yeah,
yeah, because they have a wooden coaster. And me and my brother have never ridden a wooden coaster before, and that's something we want to try. So the whole point of this trip is, we're doing all the stuff that we would normally not do with our families, because it's prohibitively expensive to with a family of 4 or whatever, to be like, hey, let's go to this theme park that we're already traveling a long way, but let's go to this theme park that really only want to go there for like 1 or 2 rides, and you don't drag your family around like that, right? Like and not because I would never go to my family and be like, I understand you guys are bored, but I'm going here, right?
Deal with your boredom. I'm going.
Yeah. So like I said, the whole point of this trip is that we're looking at, my brother and I obviously have, we have similar tastes in the things we enjoy doing. And so we've decided to make this trip just, it's just the 2 of us, and we're doing all the coasters and, all the fun stuff that we wouldn't do with our families normally. Obviously it's in the early planning phases, but I'll let people know as we get further along. But I guess the thing that I would also put out too is, like I said, we're looking. We found that there's a couple of very interesting looking mini golf courses that we want to check out. But for people that have done stuff in the Orlando area, that maybe things that are not kind of those. I don't want to say like hole in the wall kind of things, but like the not the super popular stuff, or maybe it's like a hidden gem that people don't realize is there
off the beaten path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'd love to hear about it, because we're looking at that stuff right now and just kind of exploring what all there is to do in the area. Because again, the other advantage too is the reason that that we decided to do this was the conversation originally started as we just wanted to go somewhere and do stuff that we wouldn't normally do. And the original conversation actually started with, looking at like Europe, but even going to Europe, like, the reasons that him and I both would like to go to Europe is, there's places in like Germany and stuff that have like, again, amazing water parks, and there's like, roller coasters and stuff that you don't see here, or are not, or at least for us, we don't have a lot of theme parks around us. So it was like, hey, let's go somewhere where we could experience that. But then I said, hey, I've got DVC points that I'm not using. Why don't we go to Florida? And then, the money that we're saving on, because we're not paying for accommodations, I'm using my DVC points. We can use that to do all of these things in the area that we wouldn't normally pay for with our families, because it gets too expensive, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the premise of the trip. Is it's a DVC stay trip, but we're not focusing specifically on Disney stuff. There will definitely since, my brother hasn't been to Disney in a while, I think we might do one day. I told him I kind of want to get him on Guardians, because, I mean, or well, I know you haven't been on Guardians, but for everyone who's been on Guardians, you know why. So, we might do that, but, we're very much exploring all the options available to us in the area. So, I know this is something that I think we've talked about in the past, is, using DVC, but not, using it explicitly for Disney. So we're going to try that, and we're going to see what kind of stuff we find in the area, which I'm kind of excited about, because, like I said, I feel that, going with our families is great. And, don't get me wrong, we both had the same sentiment about, we're going to Florida, but, we're going without our kids. And, I talked to my son about it, and he's like, I don't care, what you do, Dad, if you want to do it, have fun. And, my brother, his kids are the same way, where they're like, you and Uncle Trevor go and have fun. Like, so it's like, it's hard to detach ourselves from, doing the family thing, but that, we've both been doing it for a long time. So it's going to be interesting for us to do a trip just for us, but it's also going to be, and it's going to be us doing all the stuff that we've wanted to do for years, but never did do.
Yeah, I feel like SeaWorld's a good option, man. Like, because I feel like they add a coaster every year. I'm always seeing things about SeaWorld adding new coasters.
Yeah, they are on our list. Like I said, we're kind of batting around. SeaWorld, Universal, and Disney all have coasters, and also like Universal, we definitely want to go to Universal, because there's things like Velocicoaster and stuff that we want to check out as well.
Yeah.
So, that's on the list, but, like I said, we're pretty far out on it, but we're just kind of figuring out, like, we want to get a to-do list of, and not just coasters, like, just like cool rides and experiences and stuff that are in the area. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, we, wasn't on my plan originally, but, I'm planning another trip down to Florida, and,
nice.
And I'm excited about it.
Potentially around the same time that I'm there. So, right.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that too, because, we're going to be, we've already, I think, found like 4 different mini golf courses that we're looking at. So, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of behind the curtain for people that, maybe don't know this about us. So Tom and I and my brother, actually, we have multiple times played mini golf virtually. So there is a VR game called Walkabout Mini Golf, and we do the 3 of us do get together and play mini golf, and it's a fun time. But if we're both in Florida at the same time and we could actually play mini golf together, I think that would be that would be very cool. So if we can make that happen, we'll definitely try. But we'll as we solidify this more, I'll let you know what days we're going to be wearing all that. And if the stars align, yes, we're going to play mini golf.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah. I love mini. This. I love mini golf.
Yes.
Real life or virtual. It's one of my favorite things to do. And you're right. The area around Disney has a ton of really cool and weird mini golf courses. I always like a mini golf course that's not only challenging, but has weird stuff I've never seen before. That's like totally the kind of stuff I want to do. Like I went to a mini golf course one time. I think it was in the Outer Banks, where you had to take a train. There was like a little mini train that took you up to the top of the golf course, and then you made your way down. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff I want, like weird stuff like that. Like I want weird things where I have to hit the ball into the water, and it will end up going
down a creek, and the weirder and more creative, the better.
Yes,
absolutely,
exactly. So, and that's what's around that area. So yeah, if we can make that happen, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm excited about it. My brother and I, we started talking about it. Obviously, the thing to point out is that, I mentioned this earlier, we started talking about this, and, the whole thing about Disney came up. And so the interesting thing is he's not been to Disney or been to, like, even like the Florida area. I think the last time he went he was still living with my parents. So he would have been like 18 or 19 years old. So like, many, many years ago kind of thing. Or actually, oh no, wait, we went, sorry. Yeah. Something like, yeah, over 20 years ago, I think at this point, or close to 20 years ago. So yeah, for him, things have changed a lot. And so, he's trying to wrap his head around everything that's there, where, I have the advantage of, I know generally how Universal and Disney operate. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, this is easier, whatever. But, yeah, there is definitely a bit of a challenge there of figuring out how to do stuff in the area. And yeah, so I think that's the other part that's going to be interesting for me on this, is that I get to help my brother with learning some of this stuff, but also remembering very much for us in the Disney bubble, we do forget that people who don't look at this stuff every day, it's a lot of information. It's very overwhelming, and it's good to kind of ground myself in, not everybody knows how to operate in Disney or in Florida effectively, right? Like, we're going to have our own challenges. I'm sure, we've decided, we're going to try and do everything by like Uber or Lyft, because I don't really want to worry about renting a car when I'm down there. And people may disagree with that, but driving, I come from a smaller city, and driving in Florida is very overwhelming. So
fair enough. Yeah.
It's a lot, and so, people may disagree with it, but, we're going to try things. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be fun, because we're going to be trying new things, but also, I'm going to be kind of showing my brother the ropes on, how things, work in Florida as well. And so, and obviously he's going to gain benefit from it, because he does, he wants to go there with his family at some point. So, him getting, familiarized with, how, even just staying at a Disney resort, like I was telling him like, hey, you gotta get the app and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, they do everything by the app now. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, so stay tuned for more of that. And yeah, like I said, the only thing I would ask for listeners is, if you know of something interesting, the stipulations I have is, water parks, we're definitely interested in water parks, roller coasters and mini golf are the big things we're after. But, if there's something that about in that area that you think, or, you think it's really cool, please send it our way. I'd love to, at least explore this stuff and see, what kind of trouble we can get into while we're down there. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
let's wrap it up. Listen, we talked for a while, considering there's no news this week. So yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. We could also just bring up the guy that was swimming in the rivers of America too. Did you not see that one?
I heard about it, but
what is wrong with people, man?
I don't. Yeah, and of that water of all things too, like that's not even like that's just like pumped in river water, right?
I assume it's just local water, and I think they dye it too. There's like all sorts of chemicals in there too, and also snakes and gators possibly, and
gators do get in there.
I've seen gators in there. I've seen one. Yeah.
So I don't know why you would do that.
I don't know either. Hopefully they caught that person in trespass.
When I read about it, it was he got removed from the park.
I would think so. Yeah, I'm sure they had to shut down the boat and everything. Like, that was probably a mess.
There's pools, people. You don't need to get in. Yeah, you don't need to get in the rivers. Just use the pool.
Yeah, I agree.
Go to the water park. We just listen, water parks are better.
I think Danny said this last week. I don't remember if she said it on the podcast or off the podcast, but she's like, the heat makes people crazy.
I can see that. That's
true.
Fair. Yeah. When it gets really hot, I can see where it compromises people's thinking, but I guess I've never been to the point where I felt compelled to jump into a large body of water, but I can't see the bottom.
In the water.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. You can't see more than like a couple of inches into the water. Like, that's a huge no for me. Like,
yeah, I mean, there might be like electrical wires in there. I mean, like I've seen it drained before. I don't think there is, but I mean, there could be.
I've watched enough scary movies to know that there's like there's some kind of there's either a gator or an octopus or something in the water, like a kraken, like 20,000 weeks.
To me, there'll be some people that'll be like, well, you used to be able to swim in Bay Lake. I mean, it's probably the same water, but you don't anymore.
yeah, that's all blocked off for a reason. So
yeah. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. So as usual, for anything you guys have heard about on the show, if you've got your own stuff you want to share, you want to ask us questions, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We do love hearing from you guys, and similarly, you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. Make sure on Facebook that you check out our group Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, where we have lots of listeners that talk, share their own adventures, ask us questions, and post great memes. I should shout out to Jeremy, his adventures with monkeys and karaoke. Little jealous. Looks like you had a great time. So,
Funny enough, Trevor, I'm on that same exact boat and on that same exact itinerary in a few weeks. Like, I didn't realize he was on that boat. I'm literally on that boat, same itinerary. And I've done that monkey thing before too. That exact same monkey thing when I was in Punta Cana years ago, 7 years ago or so. Right. I did that same monkey thing that he did. So it was just kind of funny to me because I'm like, not only is he on the boat that I'm on, but he did the monkey thing that I did years ago.
But anyway. Jeremy posted about it in the group and you didn't.
He did. So. And I didn't. That's true. Picture didn't happen. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So stuff like that, comes up in the Facebook group. And if you want a great group where, people do talk about stuff like that, and it's just generally good Disney related stuff, please check out the group. And if you want to support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our merch. We got t-shirts and mugs and stuff. Love seeing pics of people, wearing their shirts out and about. It's cool that people wear our stuff. Still blows me away from time to time. I do see pics of it in the group, and it makes me happy. So keep it coming. And also in that same vein, we do have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and you can check out our Patreon merch, which has an exclusive logo that you can only get on Patreon. And all of our Patreon supporters also get access to the Discord server, which, as we talked about, we have other conversations on Discord, similar to the group. It's just another great place to talk about Disney and, sometimes non-related Disney stuff too. So, if that's of interest to you, please have a look at our Patreon. And last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, leave us that 5-star review because it does help with the number going up to 4.7. Tom has a dream, and someday it'll be a 4.7 review podcast. But also, write us a review on iTunes because we do read those on the show, and we just we love hearing what you guys think about the show. So keep it coming.
Yeah, and, of course, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, just about any podcast app out there. You can find our show. And just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company. As such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please contact a DVC cast member or Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to our sponsor, DVC Resale Market, for sponsoring this episode. And of course, World of DVC for continuing to be a partner of this show. Please check them out for your DVC needs. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair.